tell me, how was your experience learning in Harvard?
एक book पढ़ ली and then you say कि no, I know everything, and then you will implement and replicate the same thing. That's not how it is done. I've spoken to 1,000 people and this is what I have learned and this is it. But the world has a population of means करोड़ों में है.
Right.
Therapist cannot be your friend, and if you are a friend to someone, you cannot be their therapist.
Religion has become a political tool in the modern society.
Yes.
What will you say about it from your professional background and context?
It has always been a tool since religion came into conceptualization.
What's your take on this LGBTQ, I identify as a dog, I identify as a cat thing?
Yeah, people make a very simple classification कि you are X chromosome and Y chromosome, and that's about it. You know, but no, it is not. There is a science also behind it, but it is very few. जाऊन कुठे जाऊ, मी आहे काठ, माझ्या विना तुला सीमा नाही, तुझ्या विना मला कविता नाही.
Wow, beautiful.
So this
वेलकम बैक ऑन द सेकंड इनिंग पॉडकास्ट। हमारी आज की गेस्ट है आन्या जय मैम। ये एक बहुत ही अच्छी साइकोलॉजिस्ट है, 10 इयर्स का एक्सपीरियंस है और उसके साथ में ये एक ऑथर भी है। इनके साथ आज हमने बहुत सारे साइकोलॉजी के टॉपिक्स को डेप्थ में कवर करा है। इनकी पर्सनल जर्नी साइकोलॉजिस्ट बनने की, एक बुक लिखने की, उनको तो हमने कवर करा ही है, बट एज अ थेरेपिस्ट, एज अ कंसल्टेंट, एज अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट उन्होंने हार्वर्ड में भी पढ़ाई करी। उस एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में भी हमने बात करी है। की पॉइंट्स में सारे टॉपिक्स डिटेल में मिल जाएंगे। टॉपिक्स अच्छे से देखना, काफ़ी इन डेप्थ कॉन्वर्जेशन है, काफ़ी वैल्यूएबल कॉन्वर्जेशन है, बिल्कुल टाइम वेस्ट नहीं लगेगा। सो एंड तक देखना, एंजॉय करना, और सब्सक्राइब नहीं करा है तो सब्सक्राइब कर देना। और ऐसे ही और इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरीज, लोग और कॉन्वर्जेशन के लिए हमारे साथ जुड़े रहना। सी यू ऑन द अदर साइड।
Can I start? Anya ma'am, welcome on the second inning podcast.
Thank you so much, Atharva, for having me here, and I'm so excited and looking forward to our conversation today.
Same here, man. Pleasure is
Yes.
all mine. So let's start with your journey of becoming a psychologist first, and then we will take off from there.
All right, for
So
sure.
आप वहीं से स्टार्ट करो कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट कैसे बने, बचपन से था कि लाइफ में आगे बढ़ते बढ़ते ऐसा कुछ आ गया कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट बन गए?
So I was interested कि लोग आसपास मेरे why do they behave the way they do, and I was a pretty isolated child like since when I was young, and I wanted to know why are they doing this, why is that happening, and I knew I wanted to become a doctor. First was a teacher, then became a doctor, and either a pediatrician or a psychiatrist. And however, I was good with computers also. So my mother pushed me to do computer science. And I did my bachelor in computer science. And then again, the psychology calling was there. I told her the first year only, I was like, bas, maise nahi ho pa raha hai. Computer science.
I can relate with that.
Yeah. So I was like, but then she's saying, no, you have to finish what you have started. So I said, okay. And so I wanted to switch over, but it was not allowed. And then I started with respect to civil services. So that was also something. I come from a family where they are into politics, they are into social service as well. So it was something that I wanted to do also. Civil services was highly prestigious. I prepared for almost 4 years. In that, I took the subject of public administration. And I had also the second subject was sociology. So I studied those both. Yeah. And then I tried, I gave it my best, but I couldn't, it didn't happen. And then I was like, bas, now let me please continue what I want to do. And then I enrolled. First, I wasn't sure how to go about it. There's a famous institute in Pune called Gyan Prabodhini. So I did a short course over there first to see, if this is what it is. And I absolutely loved it. Everything that was taught. And I started with child psychology.
That was your first topic?
Yes, that was,
Subject?
adolescence and child psychology and enhancing potentials. That was the name of the course. And I absolutely loved it. I loved children. I was very fond of being with them. And so I continued with that. And then slowly the career grew. And I was like, master's karni thi. There was no, in those days, this is almost 10 years back, you were not allowed to take masters if you did not have a graduation. But now again, to restart 3 years, वापस से करना, I was already, I think, 25 by that time. And I was like, that's not possible. So I did my master's through distance learning. And from IGNO. I did it from IGNO.
All right.
And it was not enough. It was, people, when I did approach, people were like, from distance learning, but that was the only option that I had. And I made it up by doing a lot of pro bono work. I worked with a lot of organizations. I worked with, and that was completely pro bono. There was no money charged or anything like that. And I gained as much experience and much as understanding as to what I wanted to do. In that, I experimented with dance therapy, drama therapy, you name it. I had, I would go for workshops and things and update my skill, and worked with a wide variety of clientele and things like that. And in 2014, I was, my passport was almost expiring, and I've traveled quite a bit around the world before that as well, almost over 15 countries, and it's been more than 60 cities around the world.
Amazing.
So, I had applied to Yale, I applied to, I think, Oxford, and I applied to Harvard for their summer courses. And I got selected at Harvard. So it was a 7-week on campus, and then there also I did a course called as Self and Society, a cultural history of psychology. So that was something I absolutely loved. I liked my time over there. I came back. Then I got married. Then again, it was, it took some time. But yeah, once you have a master's, then I did it. I mean, I had completed my master's already. So I was a psychologist and therapist, but I continued with my work. And the next part was I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to take psychology to a different level, not just the clinical aspects of it, because I am a counseling psychologist. So, and I wanted to combine everything, the arts, the writing, the expressive therapies, and bring it to the masses, in short, like, include psychology into everyday life. Then in 2017, there was this call for entrepreneurs to join the IIM Bangalore's NSRCL cell for women entrepreneurs. So applied there, I got selected there
It's
as
the
well.
incubation center of that
Yes.
college. All right.
I got selected there for their 3-week on-campus boot camp, and I pitched my idea that I wanted to make a psychology kit. But that time I was married, and we were posted there in Srinagar. So managing a team and things, it was not possible. So again, that took a break. And but then I continued. I worked with different organizations, online, offline, gained as much experience I wanted. Writing continued. So that's how I've become a psychologist slowly and steadily. And I love what I do.
So the initial thrive that you mentioned when you were doing the course from IGNO,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So at that time, did you decided already that you have to pursue this as a career, or the thrive was just I need to learn this because I want to?
No, the career.
It was from the career point of view as well.
So I had
All right.
two. So if it was not a psychologist, I would have become an interior designer. So
Okay.
I had to choose. There was a path where I had to choose either this for career wise.
For career wise.
And I said psychologist has to be, because creating a space, maybe in the mind or maybe in a physical reality, was something that has always intrigued me. So so psychology without a doubt.
So then, when did you studied in Ferguson?
Ferguson was
mentioned it.
before. So after my 11th and 12th, so I was in school. After 11th, 12th, then from my bachelor's in computer science.
Okay, so BCA you did from
BCS, BSc computer science.
BSc Computer Science.
Yes.
You did from Ferguson.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
So now tell me, how was your experience learning in Harvard? Because you have studied in Ferguson,
Yes,
which is considered to be one of the elitist
Yes,
institute of our
yes,
country. It is
yes,
very old and
yes,
quite prestigious.
Yes.
And you have been to Harvard as well.
Yes.
Like the name is sufficient to not mention any further.
It was.
So how's the experience of learning there, and what are the differences
Yeah.
right from the courses to the learning?
Yes.
No.
So in these, again, it was at a university level course, right?
Okay.
Which I did. In that, the system isn't based on credits. So it's not something that, you have all these subjects and you study them and then you give the exam. So it's a particular course. There was Susan Lanzoni, that is the professor that I had.
Okay.
So she had curated a course. So before I went there, I had applied that I want this particular course under this professor, and it had these many credits to it. So I applied for that. And going there, I went alone. It was my first time traveling abroad alone. Like I've been with parents, so I went alone over there for 7 weeks. Settling in, so we were on campus. So it was so if you were the younger children were closer to campus, the adults were a little away, but yeah, it was on campus and it was brilliant. I mean, going to an institution, something like that, and the history that it had. So the accommodation itself, there was this. Yeah. So I've been a fan of Harry Potter. So do you know the dining area of Harry Potter?
No.
So it's So if you've seen that, so there's this huge common dining area. So that is shot in. It's called the Annenberg Hall at Harvard. The entire thing, it is based on that concept. So if you see the Annenberg Hall, so I didn't know this before I went, and I was like, oh wow,
Surprise.
So, yes, yeah,
Wow,
and
crazy.
it is absolutely. So the architecture itself was amazing. Education wise, it is psychology is a subject, though it has some roots in India as well, but the current psychology that we are consuming as a subject was developed in the West. Like it started from Europe and then it spread to America. And there they had all these measurement units as well. So they have museums as well. So you could see and witness what psychologists in those days they used, how do they measure things and stuff like that. So it was a very hands-on experience, and they were not an exam per se. So I had to write on paper. So for you to assess, they write papers over there. So that was also a very different system. One drawback what I saw is it was relying too much on the Western philosophies and what I could bring to, so there were for our course I think there were 12 to 15 students only, and what I could bring was the Eastern philosophies as well. So when I did discuss about say maybe Buddhism, say maybe the spiritual and what Hinduism offers, so that had a different intake and they were open to learning, but much of it was Western philosophies, and they were, these countries are developed, their problems and issues are very different.
Right, correct.
Ours is a developing country, so again the psyche and everything is different. So, and plus I explored, I went whale watching, the other things also, and plus I met other Indians as well there, who were studying psychology there as well. So it was wonderful. It was a very cohesive. It didn't feel कि अभी exam दे रहे हो, अभी पढ़ना है. It was more you have chosen what you like and you go ahead, and a lot of stress on self-learning. A lot of stress means you go, these are your reading, a book is given to you, papers are given to you, you read it, you understand, you come, you discuss it in class, and that's it. Rest of it, what you want to intake and everything is all your efforts. So yeah.
What was the students community and I want to ask this question to the student inside you, like being a student at Harvard.
Yes.
What was the feeling like among the rest of the students, बाकी बच्चों के साथ की tuning
I met
and वो सब.
people all over the world. It's still giving me goosebumps.
Wow.
I met children, young and old. I mean, people from all over the world. So when we would go for breakfast, all the 3 meals were at the hall. I spoke to students from Romania से लेके कहाँ देश के नाम नहीं सुने हैं. People were studying there. And just the cultural exchange was so very, because this was a summer course, right? And people had come from China, from Pakistan, from all sorts. Anywhere in the world, you had one student over there.
Wow.
So even if they were not in my class, when we would meet at the hall, and that's what, and people were keen to know. From Nigeria, yes. So my roommates, one was an American, one was from Nigeria, and the other one, she was upstairs, but she was from India. And yeah, no, she was from Philippines, I think.
Okay.
So that was amazing. And being a student at one of the most prestigious, the kind of the libraries were awesome. I mean, so abhi kaise jaake, you ask the librarian, we want this book. No, they have computers. So the libraries are so huge. You check, it's very sorted. You go, you give it, and so that was brilliant. I mean,
Are you still in touch with your friends
yes,
and
yes, I
roommates
am.
from there?
Yes, I am. Sometimes not as frequently as I, because this
Right.
is like 2014, right? Almost 10 years.
10
This
years,
marks
correct.
the 10th year. So yeah, and the secret tunnel. So Harvard has a history, right?
Right.
There are secret underground tunnels
Okay.
which join one part of the accommodation to the other as well. So exploring people have done beautiful artworks in those tunnels and things like that. So the rich and heritage. But of course, I did miss home food. I did miss, like, I wish we could carry this, and how do you go back, and what can you bring back to the community at home. And I was a part of Harvard's United Nations, the UN, MUN as well, the
Okay.
Model United
Yeah, yeah.
Nations. So we attended conference with respect to that. So yeah. So that's
Amazing experience, right?
it's something that stayed with me. And yeah, but once I came back, then people were. I don't know, it was very weird. Some people were really impressed, but some people I found in my experiences always wanted to put me down in ways. So
Here, when you
yeah,
came back
yeah, I
from
did.
Harvard,
Yeah, when I did
did you
come
figure
back,
out why was that?
I think इसमें एक था कि people are not very happy when you're too highly qualified also. So the thing is, I never
Okay.
acted that I know so much in that sense.
Hmm.
But it was something I'm very proud of, that I went and did that.
Absolutely.
And but yeah, I had people saying that, oh, आपने किया. So they would find, even when I came back, I tried applying to many places, thinking कि अभी हार्वर्ड जाके आए तो so many opportunities would open up for me. Unfortunately, nothing happened. So in my first rounds and stuff, also people would get intimidated, or
Okay.
and they would find different ways to
Avoid.
yeah, avoid, humiliate कि नहीं ये क्या नहीं है. Like if you have like job interviews में or any you want to join an organization, they tell you to do submit some work. So they would, once I submitted, I would give it the best. They would ask for 2 3, तो वैसे हो गया कि free में आप पूछ रहे हो. So it took me some time to figure that out, and then I said, like, I got to do this by myself then. So yeah, so it was a bit of a shock, but then and even I was a part of a counselors group as well. There also, I was there was something, we had a debate about something, and there is a lot of elitism in the psychology sector here, in the mental health sector here in India. And so the right on top are the psychiatrists, so the doctors, who have studied MBBS, and then they take psychiatry and they prescribe medication. The second tier is the ones who do clinical psychology. They are considered the second, but they think they are the best. We are, the full time. So they look down upon the ones who do part time. So it didn't matter if I went to Harvard or something, but I did distance learning from IGNU. That means it's not enough. Not seeing and valuing what I'm bringing to the table. So that was
Understood.
very disheartening, but it taught me a lesson that. I don't do that with others who want are curious about human behavior, and so that's something that it taught me. But yeah, this elitism is there, and that has been my endeavor. That I really don't want this to happen, because every individual really needs to learn and understand what human behavior is, and love it as a subject. How arts, music, sports, people do it for the love of it. I really want people to take up psychology for the love of the subject, kind of a thing.
We'll
Yeah.
get back to that when we'll discuss your startup.
All
But
right.
first, I want to ask one last question
Yes.
regarding this Harvard
Yes.
and everything. That 7 weeks का आपका program था,
हाँ
right?
जी, हाँ जी.
तो 7 weeks के लिए Harvard में रह के when you came back to
Yeah.
India,
Yeah.
what was was there a perspective shift, or was there a slight change in the way you see the world, you see the society, you see the people around you, even the same people who
Yeah.
were around you before going to Harvard, and when you encountered the same people? Was there a difference?
Not so much.
Not so
Not so
much.
much, other than how I felt inside me, in the sense,
Okay.
not to do, because I had gathered a set of experience, and I had written a paper there called Efficacy of Imagination in Children and Adults.
Okay.
It spoke about how imaginary, I'll come to that later as well, that how
Sure.
imaginary friends can be a coping mechanism and things. So those internal exercises and the conversation I had with people, that changed inside me. But because I've traveled before, so the America trip before that, I've been to Europe, I've been to Australia and other places. So coming back to India was not so much. I knew the
Okay.
mentality of people here. I knew what to expect from here. It was not that it was a big change. First time when I went abroad, of course, that was a different thing.
Okay.
But this time, but here, there was something that changed in me, in the sense that I somehow felt expanded in some ways.
Hmm.
And yeah, but there was some mismatch. I didn't know I wanted to learn there, go back there. I felt like I should have had more years there to study and to
Right.
learn. So it was more to do with me rather than the people here. And for me, I went with that intent that I have to, whatever I've learned, I have to bring it here. Whatever I've learned, I have to share my knowledge, come back and do something.
That was the thought back in the
Yes,
mind.
yes.
Main
And
thought.
there also they asked. So there, when we would have community gatherings, they would ask, like, you've come here now, what are you going to take back to your countries? What are you going to go back and do? So that was also instilled, like, what have you learned here so that you can bring back with you? So yeah, so for me, that was something that was important.
Okay,
And that's
now-
something it was close to me.
Great. So now let's integrate this bringing back part and your startup, that is
Yes.
ProBehave.
Yes.
So are those two linked?
Yes,
Bringing
they
back.
are. Yes.
And now please explain what's your startup all about.
Okay,
ProBehave.
so ProBehave stands for pro is promoting and
Okay.
behavior. So
Okay.
promoting conversations around behavior. So exactly what we are doing, having conversations, and but about behavior. And it's had its own transitions, but in current state, so this ProBehave is a mixture of what I learned and experienced in Harvard, along with what I did at IIM Bangalore as well.
Okay.
So it was a combination by seeing things as well, and it is an edutech. So ProBehave has been registered as an edutech platform focusing on mental health. Now, because it had been quite many years for me in the field, and I've worked with the best of organizations, seen the latest in tech also in mental health, what was happening, but still there was something amiss. So when I wanted to personally utilize it, like when I had any particular issues, or everyone has certain changes and transitions in their life, it did not seem enough. And
The
what
available resources and
yes,
solutions.
yes.
Okay.
And they were very limited, and even my colleagues, I found many a times, they were limited in their own experiences. There was, as I said, there was a lot of elitism, there was a lot of judgment even in the field. And conversations were something, coming back to my the imaginary part, as I said. So when I was 11 years old, I had an imaginary friend. Okay, and that time, yeah. So I think, and I was, how we start conversations with ourselves in our mind. But
inside
this
our
was
heads.
different. So, I imagined a friend who
Can
I
you
would
share the
talk to.
name?
Yeah, his name was Jack.
Jack.
Okay, his name
Alright.
was Jack, and I would have my conversations in my mind about everything, school kaise raha, kya raha, and all of that. So that is how it was. And with respect to that, it was a very good. It isolated me from all my negative experiences in a way. And at the age of 15, I started writing poetry as well. So I think expression in the written form and in the verbal communicative form was my coping mechanism with all the things that were happening around me.
Okay.
And that got, so, that again was a one-to-one conversation. Even a therapist and client relationship is also a one-to-one. And I come from a very conservative Marathi family. So we are this Shahano Kori, as you say, typical Marathi family.
Okay.
And my grandmother had a lot of influence on me. Like, though we spent less time together, but she would tell me a lot of stories. So all the questions that we were looking for, I would find its answers in the mythological aspects as well.
Okay.
And she would tell me all the stories and about the Ramayana, about the Gita, and things like that. So even in the Gita, it was emphasized, like, the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna was also there. That also was, between two people.
Correct.
So this conversations and the bond that is shared between two people became the center stone. So when I was to create ProBehave in the form of chat stories, so in a conversational module, because that's what we do in therapy. It's talk therapy. How do you do that then? And that is how it came. And currently, under the umbrella of ProBehave, I am doing my one-on-one counseling sessions as well, the workshops as well, and of course the platform. And I'm planning to come up with different games and activities, kind of a kit as well.
Okay. So basically, if you highlight the conversational chat part a little bit, so it's like you go to the website and you have a conversation with a bot, or
No,
it's
no. It's a
Pre-scripted.
pre-scripted, yes. So it's
Pre-scripted
so
story.
the issue with what I see in AI, including AI into mental
You have
health
also
is
integrated AI in this, right?
no, it's not AI.
Not
Only the
AI.
imagery, only the screens and thing is AI
Only
generated.
graphics.
Only the graphics,
Okay.
but not the conversation. Because you see, no matter how hard you try, AI can't really be a substitute for human
Spot
emotions.
on, no doubt.
So even like, I've seen bots, when you talk about some sensitive topics, it will not have the right kind of generation. And stories are powerful. So here again, when I pitched at IIM Bangalore as well, at NSRCL, it was with respect to, I wanted to create something what Panchatantra did for morality. So if you
Okay.
see, most of the
Same model.
Panchatantra, yeah, so Panchatantra stories
Hmm.
teach a lot about morality.
Okay.
So that was something I wanted to build something like that way for psychology. But of
Hmm.
course, animal stories and stuff, that time they were relevant because we were still into the hunter gatherers, and
Right.
hunting was a
Correct.
preoccupation. Now with gadgets and stuff, it has to be something more advanced.
More civilized, we can
Yes,
say.
yes.
Right.
And stories, books, of course, that was one of the thing I wanted to be an author as well at one point of time. But then ab kitne books likhoge? And a collaborate. So for me, having a collaborative approach, having other people join in was more important, because I realized that's the only way. Until it doesn't reach the masses, people are not co-creating things, it's not going to work out. So that was yeah, so that's why the conversational aspects, and it is script. So I have the currently the stories we have had script writers for it who have hired. I give them an outline of the complete structure of what the story and everything would be, and then they are given the creative freedom to choose what they like.
Hmm. So basically, you have particular scripts and stories
Yes.
for particular theories or problems related to
Yes,
psychology.
yes.
Like, for example, if I am a person who have recently broken up and I'm not able to move on from that person,
Yes,
and
yes.
I have to whatever,
Yeah.
so I can go through that
Yes, there is a
story.
module. So there is
There
a
is a
module,
module for
yeah, and
that. Okay.
it's called the story. It's called that is the loneliness module, but
Okay.
it will be in a different format of a story,
Okay.
and that will navigate the conversation
How,
that
how
you
will
have.
that help me?
So at the end of it, when you go through the conversations, there are techniques also mentioned. So now if you talk with a friend who doesn't have a psychology background, they will not know the techniques that are used, the theories there are. Just the way in medicine you have a ENT, you have a gynec, you have a brain surgeon,
Right.
specialization. The same thing is there in psychology, and there are
Okay.
more than 40 plus therapies that are available.
Okay.
But
For
yeah,
the same problem.
yeah, there are different methodologies for it as well.
Okay.
So for the same thing, it's all upon what kind of approach are you wanting as
So
well.
what kind of approaches are taught to the students in the institutes
So currently there are only particular 3 to 4 types are only
out of 40?
Yes, there are only
Okay.
CBT, like cognitive
I have heard
behavior
of that.
therapy is
Yeah.
something that is important. Then there is REBT, and very at the top, which are very practical and which can be taught. And some do explore in their thesis and stuff, but still not complete, not the whole genre. They would just touch upon it, but not the complete. So, with respect to that, and even if you talk to a psychologist friend who you may have, they also may not have heard of those therapies. So, it's again an
Quite
ongoing
possible.
process. Yes,
Right.
I learn every day something new that has come up, and they are ever developing. It's not static, it is a
Right.
dynamic process that's happening. So we use, and I have had a very interdisciplinary approach. So one of the ways that I thought that psychology can be helped, is to integrate it into different fields. So I have psychology and philosophy. There is psychology in interior designing. Sports psychology is coming up, but integrate it into all sorts and different genres also of it. So that's what we are doing at ProBehave.
I want to talk about those 40 types of therapy.
Okay.
Like how would a therapist or a psychologist, जैसे कि अगर किसी इंसान को वो 40 चीजें आती हैं,
हाँ
let's
जी.
say, so उसका probability to treat the patient accurately or more effectively would
No,
increase,
you
right?
choose. So you choose. So every therapist is also very different. In
Right.
the
Okay.
sense, like, all 40 are not going to interest me. It's like डॉक्टर जब बनते हैं MBBS बेसिक सीख लिया, देन स्पेशलाइजेशन तो 40-50 है, आपको कौन सा करना है. तो देर आर मेनी फैक्टर्स विद रिस्पेक्ट टू इट ऑल्सो, कि अगर आपको ना, इफ यू आर लाइक यू हैव योर parents have been eye doctors, or they are someone who are ENT specialists, there's a chance that you may choose that. Or you are someone who may have those settings, so many things. So for me, expressive therapies, trauma informed approach was something that intrigued me, so I learned more. The more you learn about it, practice with the people that you know, have more courses done on it, you start specializing in it, and also the kind of clientele that comes to you as well. And then with experience, it's all about experience as well.
So, as a therapist, can you judge if I am your client? I have came to you for the first time.
Okay.
So, आपको जितनी methods पता है,
हाँ जी.
जैसी मेरी personality और मेरी problem है,
Yes.
शायद आपकी methods उन पे अगर work नहीं करे,
Yes.
so then what?
So usually what happens is, when a client comes in, there are two approaches to go through it. First is, I know what I am, है ना, मुझे पता है मेरे theories and everything. Then now when you come into the picture, I ask you, what is it that you need help with? Okay, now you will tell, and I will also ask you to describe yourself. What are your hobbies? What do you like? Now if you say, I really like music and I really like the arts, so I would suggest that though I can help you in a couple of sessions, I may not be the right therapist for you, because what you're talking about is art therapies would suit you better. And then I can guide you to someone else who has done. So that is the right approach to do it.
Ethically.
Actually, yes. Now, but if you say that, no, I am looking at self-discovery, I really want to explore myself, there is anxiety that's happening, and I really need to understand myself better, then because I specialize in individuation and self-discovery.
Okay.
So this is my self-esteem and all the concepts, and then I apply all. So I pick up from art therapy and from different we would call it genres of therapy, and then I would help.
Okay.
And again, from that also selective to what would be the best suitable for you. So that's how it usually works and should work. But आजकल क्या होता है, therapists like नहीं, उनको clients चाहिए बहुत सारे, so they will just take on people even if they are not prepared for it, even if they are not well equipped for it, and that is why then people go for 1-2 session, they don't want to continue because it's not matching. So the good fit is very important. Do you feel comfortable with your therapist?
So it's not like कि किसी भी therapist के पास चले गए
हाँ,
and you will get the solution.
exactly. So जैसे family physician अलग है, for basics it is, again, if there are severe cases like addictions are not something substance abuse and things is not something I handle, so I have to say that no, I can't do that.
Right.
If it is someone is already on medication and then coming, I'm saying that I'm not the right therapist.
Right.
You will have to, there are clinical psychologists who work directly under psychiatrists, they would be more better to help out with as well. And again, a combination, so someone who is I have a very holistic approach towards me. So बहुत सारे factors आ जाते हैं उसमें. Because recently also now a lot of influencers also were doing and giving advice. You see everyone, because mental health is becoming a hot topic, everyone is saying.
Right.
And the thing is, to some extent it's right, because we are human beings. So we think we know the best out of human behavior. So however, that is, but studying it unbiasedly and non-judgmentally, learning all the theories, अभी एक book पढ़ ली and then you say कि no, I know everything, and then you will implement and replicate the same thing. That's not how it is done. It's like एक geography की एक book आपने map पढ़ लिया तो आपको geography आती है. It's not. The practical experience कहाँ है? Have you हमने okay, it's the other way around. I've spoken to 1,000 people and this is what I have learned and this is it. But the world has a population of means करोड़ों में है.
Right.
You have studied only 1,000 people. Where is your research? Where is what has happened? And plus, what group have you studied? Very typical. Na? So how are you going to identify all that? So it's very limited in that sense, and people are trying to have ethical practices. There are there are certain rules. One of the biggest rules which I always feel this thing with is so your therapist cannot be your friend. Okay, so many times, and if you are a friend to someone, you cannot be their therapist. And of course, there is a huge kind of literature that goes that why it shouldn't be. But yeah, these are certain ethical practices that help the therapist and the people they associate with, to have good emotional and psychological boundaries.
So this rule is set from the perspective of therapist or from the side of the
Both.
client.
Both.
लाइक ठीक
Both.
है, थेरेपिस्ट के सामने अगर उसका फ्रेंड या रिलेटिव है
हाँ,
तो उसको अपनी प्रैक्टिस करने में इश्यू हो सकता है.
Yes.
बट अगर सामने क्लाइंट है जिसको पता है कि सामने वाला मेरा फ्रेंड या फिर कोई है, तो उनकी साइड से क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकती है?
Yeah, so if the client is there and so imagine you are there, I'm a therapist.
Okay.
And you want to take therapy.
Okay.
But so I don't know you very well, so it is okay. But if we become friends and you say, please give me advice, it is not because I have got bias towards you. I know exactly what, and the main important thing, it has to be a stranger, because then the biases are removed. So now two ways. Now if the client, so usually it happens because many clients like the safe space that is created. The therapist understands them the best. But if they try to make friends with the therapist post their therapy session is being ended, there's a vulnerability. So, in the sense that if I am to become their friend, I will get. They have come into the session and told me all the people who have been troubling them. And me going into their world won't be fair, because then that becomes an issue. And it becomes, I can still be a little aloof and still be unbiased, but then they will start to, so, and the authority aspect also, they will not be in, I relinquish my position as well. So it's not an authority figure, but someone who they trust. Once I start getting entwined into their lives, what is the guarantee that I will remain non-judgmental and unbiased?
Right. You know all the sensitive spots and
Yes,
soft
and
spots,
human, and
everything.
after all, I am a human being as well.
Right.
एक तो बहुत common होता है. If I am having a bad day, I'm told, अभी तो आप तो psychologist हो. This is a very common thing, like so आपको कैसे problem हो सकते हैं? आप कैसे रो सकते हो? I'm like, doctor कभी बीमार नहीं पड़ते क्या? So that's my cliche answer. I said that, I am also a human being, and then my emotions also get involved. So it's a very professional kind of
Thing.
context, and of course there are deeper roots also to it. So there is a lot of projection, like psychological aspects that happen between the client and the therapist as well. So there are many. So there's a huge article and literature behind it. But yeah, in short, I've tried to explain.
Great. Do you still talk with Jack? Sometimes.
So it's more of a character. So that is
that
what I
I
have, yeah. So what I have done is I have transformed that character into a story character. So the imaginary friend, so what you see in ProBehave, and if you see the male characters into it, he's a representation of that.
Jack. Okay.
Yes.
So you have transformed that conversation you had with him or you have with him into those stories.
Yes,
All right.
yes. So it's been like a coping mechanism, and that is the concept of what and how, and many things that I learned and the conversations that happen. And this goes back to the concept of God also, in the sense. And I've seen this with respect to many clients. So many clients who have gone through a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma, their concept of faith and God is very shaky. They know that they believe in God, but what happens is, if something really bad has happened with me, like death of a loved one, or abuse, physical abuse, rape, or anything like that way has happened, how do I trust? And why did this happen to me? And if there is a God, why did they not come and save me? So that it actually shakes your core concept and faith in things. And if you see, God, the concept also starts as an imaginary friend. You're talking, but it is validated by the whole community and society. And it has been there since ages.
Right.
So for a child, that concept is transformed in a form of an imaginary friend. There's someone bigger, someone unknown to you, but you believe that this person is going to protect me, is going to keep me safe. And you put that faith in something that is unseen.
And that belief is inserted into the child through the parents, through the society
and
around.
there are stories as well.
And the stories, correct.
And they can exist. There are people, there are human beings in all religions who have done wonderful and amazing work. Maybe Jesus Christ and Lord Buddha, and so many who have existed and done a lot. That is a difference. So the goodness in concepts does stay. But at the same time, it is all about who is going to keep you safe, who is going to keep you sane, who do you talk, and the relationship you have with that entity. So, is it a punishing God that you have, or is it a father figure? Many a times we think of God or a goddess as a mother and father figure. Is it a friend figure? So, like now in these cartoons, also Ganeshji Mera Dost.
Right.
So that's how, so this is a very evolutionary aspects of human beings where the evolution of God has also happened, and the way we communicate, and plus very different across the whole world. So, yeah.
If we have touched God, I would like to intervene in topic of religion.
Yes.
Now, I will state a statement. I want
Okay.
you to comment on that statement
Okay.
through psychological
All
constant
right. All right.
context. Okay.
All right.
So, religion has become a political tool in the modern
Yes.
society.
Yes.
This is what I have been thinking about
Yes.
lately.
Yes.
So, what will you say about it from your professional background and context?
It has always been a tool since religion came into conceptualization.
Okay, and how far back are we talking?
We are talking about Stone Age times.
From Stone Age
Yeah.
times.
So first, if
Okay.
you see the totemism. So as I said, even with a child, if you see, there is something beyond us. When we are born into the world, when the cognitive aspects start to develop, you start to think of something other than yourself. So in the first few years of life, it's just like you are thinking and about yourself. But later on, what happens is you also start to think about why am I here? Okay, why am I? This world has. Oh, did the chicken come first or the egg came first? That
Right.
kind of a
Dilemma,
scenario, So you start like, how come? Why have I come here? These existential questions you start.
Correct.
The only answer to it is someone, an entity that is beyond yourself that exists, who has created it. Now, in Stone Age time, they would, and in many mythologies also, that you would see that they thought that it is the thunder god, the god of fire, the god of the sun, the moon, all the elements.
Natural elements.
Yes, all
Okay.
natural elements were worshipped, if you see, because that was beyond. There was scientific discoveries were yet to be made. Then slowly, as human beings evolved, it got more complex. As they started to form agrarian societies, they started to come together. Then you see, then the totemism started to like small rocks,
What is
whatever.
totemism?
Uh, it's a representation of worshipping a certain kind of objects.
Okay, in the considering them the form of God.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
representation of
Yes,
God.
because you started skill work, right? You
Okay.
could start sculpting things.
Right.
So then the idol worship also started. So, but
Okay.
it is totemism in the form of animals, in the form of spirits and things, and what
Okay.
that object. So, from this large abstract concept, you came to an objectified aspect of it. Now, because you're coming and gathering, you have to have a hall. एक जगह तो होनी चाहिए where commonly you worship है. सबके पास है. But there has to be some common worship element.
Okay.
Then it came ki, okay, we will have a temple, we'll have a gurudwara, we'll have we'll have in different parts of the world these concepts came in. So one place together. When monarchy started, like now there has to be a king, and how will, because the communities got bigger, right? So there has to be someone big person who will take charge and will have all the money and will go and fight, who's the mightiest, and they will go and fight and do all these things. So that is when then the politics of religion also started. Whose God would you believe? Who is better? I am better. I am the king. I believe in this, so this is happening. Then also like this was this famous movie, the religious, like forest gods, demigods. Stories started when humans started language and communication through stories. They would tell that's imagination, right? Again, the imagination. This is where, but also from real life experiences. That is where most of our inner. So there's a theory of Panchkosha in our Indian scriptures, that the body is not just the material body. There are 5 layers to it. There is more to us than just the physical body. So that our ancestors understood way better. But once the advent of science and civilization came in, it started to diminish. Nahi. What is important is machinery, very practical, very physical things, very money and all of that.
Logical,
Yeah, very
realistic.
logical things. But that intuition, what all that was, started to lose its effect.
Okay.
But it still exists, it's still practiced in some communities, and people still believe in it in small ways. But that is where, and now तो it is so complex that religion and politics तो अभी तो democracy है या communism है. It means there are it is entrenched in it, and there are two ways to go about it. That there is a ritualistic aspect of religion कि आप candle जलाओ या मोमबत्ती means or incense or anything. It is very फूल चढ़ाना, नारियल तोड़ना. All these aspects are very ritualistic, and the other part is the spiritual aspect of religion. So that, and the sentiments around it also, and the fanatism that is, so that is a completely different subject as well in religion, and how much religion influences the human psyche. And because it is evolutionary, and those certain things, those elements which started, so even if you dream about clouds or you dream about a particular animal, it's like snakes. If you see Nag Panchami hoti hai, they revert. Why they revert? Why the importance of it? So there is a lot, and then politicians play with these sentiments many a times, and then now it's even if you don't want to be a part of it, you don't even understand the subconscious ways it's affecting you. But yeah, so they're politicizing it in that sense.
So the playing of sentiments has been done since very long
Yeah,
time. And how will you tackle the same topic or statement which I mentioned, the political use of religion, from like अभी जब हम अपने मैंने पूछा कि कितना हम पीछे की बात कर रहे हैं, you
Yes,
stated
yes.
Stone Age, but if we go back through the times according to our scriptures, like
Yes,
Kali
yes,
Yug, Dwapar Yug,
yes.
Treta Yug,
Yes,
Satyug.
yes.
So if you trace those tracks from this side, so what will you say about that?
I won't have so much of knowledge with respect to it, but वही एक है, what I knew in Satyug was there were more just kings, like Parshuram was there, the justice and those factors, the values,
Shriram.
symptoms. And no, Shri Ram से पहले भी परशुराम जो आए थे,
हाँ, correct.
so in that
Right.
sense as well. So those were people or holders of justice and peace and things. So even in India, the Vedic system, when it did come, the caste system was there. It was not per se of any, it had a hierarchy, but it was to divide so that everyone could do work together.
Yeah,
It
I have
had,
an
it
idea
has
of that.
nothing, yeah, it was nothing to do about
Discrimination and
yeah, there was
everything.
no discrimination.
Right,
Women
absolutely.
in Vedic times, women had a lot of power and a lot of say in many things.
Right.
But then because of invasions, and as people world over, the history around also started, there was a lot of invasion, and we've never been a country who would we were always welcoming even to the outsiders. Atiti Devo
True.
Bhava.
Correct.
So that somewhere really got to us in some point of time, I think. But setting up boundaries over there. So I think that, and yeah, in Satyug there was a time when morality was at its peak. And if you see psychology, many a times anxiety and fears are also when it is dealing with the immoral aspects of human beings. There is a
Okay.
lot of, it can be misplaced guilt and shame, but it is like I have done something wrong. There is something that is not happening right. And that is why there is so much of issues also that are coming up as well.
And when the person is on the victim's position, what
That
about what
is where,
then?
but because the victim blaming is so much, that person, that is the reason, because they feel it's their fault when it is not. And in fact, it's the
Okay.
abuser who should be feeling shame and
Okay,
guilt.
so like they take the charge of it. कि मेरे साथ
Yeah.
गलत हुआ है, मेरी ही कहीं गलती होगी. Like
Yeah,
that.
and because of that, that shame and guilt, that is that conscious that keeps eating them. Then that is mostly, that is what we do in therapy, that you are not at fault. It takes sessions, it takes a lot of time to make them realize, because
Okay.
this is so ingrained since childhood. So most of the victims have this that's why it's called victim mentality.
Right.
And people who are abusers, no, मैंने तो even if they've done the worst of sins, मैंने तो कभी किया ही denial.
So like it's like two separate sides. एक एकदम
Yes.
denial में है, and the victim side is like कि मेरी ही
मेरी
कुछ
ही
गलती
सब
होगी.
कुछ everything. Then you have to say that no, there is a difference between responsibility and accountability.
And both of these need medical treatment at the
Yeah,
same time.
yes, but those who come for therapy are the victims who come in.
Victims, right.
The other one says कि
They
no,
are confident
don't-
about their approach.
They are like, we are happy.
We are happy. We haven't done
Even if
anything
it's
wrong.
coming at the cost of someone else, we are happy. I to never, they have easily forgotten that aspect. You see
Right.
mostly people who are, they get drunk, they say the nonsense things, and then they they are like, अरे मैंने कब कहा, मैंने कब बोला. Sometimes even willingly also they will deny because, and that's something that they've learned since childhood, right? So I mean, so that is where the issue is. Placing the correct accountability on people, and that is what happens. That is where the healing starts. And again, the concept of death or losing, the feeling of loss. आजकल तो FOMO इतना चलता है, fear of missing out.
हाँ
Because we are connected with each other so much, there are so many experiences is happening, and so the loss, the feeling of loss is too much. मेरे को ये नहीं मिला, मुझे वो नहीं मिला, मुझे that sense of contentment is also not there. So these
क्योंकि
are
लूज करने को इतनी सारी चीज़ें हैं कि
yes.
आप कुछ कितना भी आपके पास वो कंटेंटमेंट फील करने का मौका ही नहीं मिलता.
Yes, so that is
It's like
why,
that.
yes, so psychology, when you're doing, it is about you understanding cultural influences. And in India, we have a very strong moral culture as well. It's supposed to be, now it's misconstrued and things, that's a different thing. And philosophical questions, existential questions, why am I here? What is my purpose? जो हम धर्म में बोलते हैं, what is my dharma? What is my purpose? But of course, dharma has much more deeper meaning and stuff, like, with respect to that. But yeah, what is my sense of purpose? That's why I feel lost. I don't know what, even about the concepts of relationship, how are we to be with others? So all this is a part of psychology, and there are theories of attachment, how do you, and the influences. So बहुत सारी चीज़ें, which it's an beautiful tapestry, I would say, of things. But yeah, that is what people need to learn. But they don't know where to start. मैं शुरुआत कैसे करूँ, क्या पढूँ, क्या नहीं पढूँ. So I would suggest is just pick up, go to any good bookstore, pick up a book, start reading on it. But unfortunately, there's again this aura कि नहीं, ये तो सर से ऊपर से जा रहा है. So I can never understand it. So that is why it's been my endeavor that to simplify it. कि नहीं, simple है. Try and simplify it as much as you can. So, and relate it to everyday objects and to the cultural aspects as much as you can, so the common person can understand
And
it
that's
as
what we
well.
had been doing with ProBehave.
Yes, yes.
But if you have to recommend any books, 2 or 3 books, subject or any author's book,
Okay.
to anyone who have to understand these concepts of psychology, or just to take a glimpse of or understand the basics,
All right.
and what could be the 3 books?
One of the books, so mostly is what I see in society is trauma. People are trying to heal from their traumas. So if you are a parent, so there's this beautiful book of Dr. Peter Levine called Trauma Proofing Your Kids.
Trauma proofing.
Yeah,
I think we
yeah,
have
yeah,
some.
it's that red one below. Yeah.
This.
Yes, so this one is again, Trauma Proofing Your Kids by Dr. Peter Levine, and he has another book called as Waking the Tiger Within. So
Waking the Tiger
yeah,
Within.
this I think yeah. So this again is again on trauma, and it says here that animals also go through trauma, right?
Okay.
And but do you see them victimized in a victim mentality? Very rarely, unless they're really kept caged and stuff like that way. So what they do is they shake their body and they go. So there are certain, so this is somatic therapy. So that's again a different therapy, as we had started our conversation. So there's awesome work that he has done. So that was that's really helpful. And one of my favorites is Carl Jung. He was a psychiatrist as
Yeah.
well. The symbolism, it's a little complex, the work, but man and his symbols.
Man
so
and his
it's yeah, see that one over there. Yes.
This?
Yeah. No, the up. Yes.
Okay.
So Man and His Symbols. It's a very small, very old book. So this is also really good. These are something.
He's a famous one.
Yeah, he's
Carl
Carl Jung. Yes, Carl Jung's on Man and His Symbols actually shows like how dreams and everything, the conscious, the collective, how as human beings we have found meaning in what we have created in this world. So these are a little heavy books, but it's worth it. And we have AI these days and chat. If you don't understand, you Google it out.
simplify
You
those
simplify
stuff,
those terms. So many of the psychology experiments are actually done on animals. So
Okay.
one of the famous one is the Pavlov's experiment. So the Pavlov's.
Pavlov's.
So
Okay.
it's the salvation. So if you must have they trained a dog to it's called classical conditioning.
Okay.
That means they conditioned, so they trained. So this Pablo, he had a dog. There are बहुत सारे memes हैं. Just thinking about it making me laugh. But yeah, but that's how it is.
So क्या experiment क्या है वो?
हाँ, the experiment is there is a dog. and you give him to eat food. The dog will eat
Okay.
food.
Okay.
Next time you give the food, you keep ringing a bell.
Okay.
Okay, before you give the dog food, you start ringing the bell. And you do this a couple of times. There comes a time when there is no food and the dog starts to salivate, okay, when seeing the thought of food. If you do it enough number of times, I forgot exactly how many number of times it needs to be done. You don't give the food, but if you just ring the bell,
He will
the dog will
start.
still salivate.
Yeah.
This is called conditioning.
Okay.
And this is implemented many like that's why. So for I would say when you do have a girlfriend or you want their behavior, so this is positive and negative reinforcements it comes under.
Okay.
So if your girlfriend or boyfriend is doing something good for you, you reward them with something so that associates in a positive, there's a positive association.
Right.
But many times के फूल लेके आए and you're still angry. Next time वो नहीं लाएंगे, means so even for so and don't keep fighting. If you really want them to, like if they're doing something good, don't show your anger at that point of time. Show it when they have not actually done something. And even there's this story of Cleopatra and Alexander as well, that she made it so the way that she managed to be with him was they always had a good time, in the sense that she would always smile and laugh whenever she was with him. So it would
Okay.
make him feel as if the happiest person on earth. So that kind. So this is
Okay.
all conditioned behavior.
They used this effects, like they made a joke around this effect in the Office series as well. If you have
Okay.
seen it, I saw it on
Yeah. Okay.
like उसमें ऐसा किया था that every time a phone rang, he gave him a tic tac or something, या every time ऐसा कुछ तो इंसिडेंट से tic tac से उसने उसको लिंक कर दिया था. So अब वो जब भी उसको टिक टैक देता था तो वो इंसिडेंट होता था, तो वो इंसिडेंट होता था, वो टिक टैक मांगता था, ऐसा कुछ कर दिया था.
This
I
there
can
it's
remember that.
replicated, and this is one of the most basic of experiments. So this so like there's a humor circle in psychology also. So these are some things that so that's when people don't know. Every day you go through life, and that is where self-awareness comes in. So for you to become aware of why do you do the things you do, simple question. मैं अगर पूछूं, बहुत लोग पूछो, मुझे पता ही नहीं मैंने ऐसे क्यों किया, मुझे पता ही नहीं मैं को क्यों रो रही हूँ और रो रहा हूँ, और I don't know why I'm feeling angry. For men it's mostly I don't know why I'm angry, why am I feeling frustrated, and anger comes more easily to men. Again, it's not a generalization, but I'm just seeing in my own limited experience. And for women, crying in the emotional part comes more often. So and they don't know, but then you start taking diaries. There is some an incident, so I have to take them back. What happened? Every minute thing. Oh, ये हुआ था, because it builds up and then it comes out.
Bursts,
Yeah.
burst.
So-
Since I have managed to have an opportunity of sitting with a professional, so I will come up with this topic because I have been looking out to have this conversation with someone, but I had
Okay.
to have this with someone professional.
Okay.
So, what's your take on this LGBTQ? I identify as a dog, I identify as a cat thing.
Yeah.
You are aware about all the stuff
of
which has been
course,
happening.
course,
Like
of course.
people are identifying as a dog and barking on the streets. Have you seen
It's
that?
it's very petty actually to do that. But see, we have enough evidence that ये अब की बात नहीं है. You
Okay.
see temples of Khajuraho and stuff. We've had they are termed as non-binary. So other than just being male and female, there is a non-binary aspects of it. Okay, in the sense that you don't identify with. Identification is different. There are many physiological changes. So there's this concept of the gender-bread person, in the sense that there are identity, the way you form, the way you dress, the way you think, who are you attracted to, who you're not attracted to. There is much to do it than just as simply as saying that you identify. We know of eunuchs also. We know in when a child is born, or you see on the roadsides, they have this, they are humiliated by calling them, chakkas and stuff like that. But that's not how you know that they exist. It's just that you have never paid attention or even have tried to find out what their life and what it means. It's not just simply. So there is genetic changes, there are biological changes. As I said, it's a complex topic. It's not
Okay.
as. I'll give you a simple example. My name previously was Chetna Mankar. Okay.
Okay.
And then I've had a legal change of name, and I call now it's means on all my passport, everything is come to Anya Jai. And this is very common in women, like, post marriage and
Yeah,
stuff. People
correct.
change any instances or something,
Hmm.
Now, there are my new friends. Now I have requested you or my friend to say that please call me Anya going forward, because I've formed a new identity
Okay.
and I would love.
Okay.
Now, if purposely they still call me Chetna, nee, but it is a habit now. I would still feel bad, right?
Okay.
It has nothing to do with you or me per se. It's like I'm requesting you, please call me by my first name, like the name that I would like to be called.
Hmm.
And the other person, if they are a good friend to you, आपका क्या जा रहा है?
Hmm. Okay.
Means, is there something that is forget anything? You would, yeah, if you like me, yeah, sure, I will call you what you like me to call you.
Okay.
Very rarely there are those people who will know I will call you what I want to call you. And this happens even in relationships and stuff, like some people like the pet names that are given to them, some don't. Simple thing like mota mota, motu motu, we call them. And we are like, क्यों बोलना है? नहीं, प्यार से तो बोल रहा हूँ, ये क्या हुआ? You want to call someone who doesn't want to be called Motu. But when someone is asking you that please call me by this, why are you having the issue with
Okay.
respect to that?
So this we took the example about name, but I want to ask you about the basic thing, like क्या वो identity वाली चीज, मेरे को उस चीज का रूट जानना है कि अगर एक a person is identifying himself or herself as an another animal, so
No,
वो
not
चीज
an
उस चीज का
animal.
I want to question its existence.
It starts in childhood, Atharva. In the sense that you will see small children, they will act like अरे जब class nursery में होते, what does the cow do? Moo.
Okay.
You become a cow. You see fancy dress competitions. Children are taught to go and identify themselves as animals.
Correct.
That is not wrong. But as adults, when you say I'm identifying, so it is so, and this what is coming up because they are getting. This is again a lobbying. This is again very politically motivated to
that I
try.
am
The
aware
LGBT
of.
community and everything is very politically
Correct.
motivated.
Correct.
Trying to put them down or trying to stop that movement or not, like same thing that was happening to women as well, right? With the feminist movement. So the people in power will always try to subdue the other ones who are trying to gain their rights and stuff as well. And some people are making a joke out of it. Now, if you decide, if someone says that I identify as a dog lover. Now, if I identify as a dog or not, now that is again, it's a legal issue that what do I identify as an animal or not. Now, again, that's why so much of debate is happening, that how do you prove? When people make a very simple classification ki you are X chromosome and Y chromosome, and that's about it. But no, it is not. In a woman also, there are so many women who are different. Someone is thin, someone is fat, a man is bald, and this thing. Does that make them less of a man? If a person is bald, does that means there are so many varieties with respect to that? And someone who's identifying them, if someone comes and say, no, I am identifying some as a dog, please call me a dog or treat me like a dog. It's a role play. Okay, I said if you want to play, I will play. If that is what is going to give you happiness, am I getting affected? Would I introduce my child to someone like that? Then that is why people are having questions. That what kind of society are we building?
Right.
Should this? So don't make it so serious. Na? Make it that, okay, uncle or auntie is just role playing. They are acting like a dog and have a good time.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay, I get what you're saying, and I
yeah.
acknowledge that.
But this is a very personal view that I'm giving. It's a very, this is how I would handle a particular situation.
Yeah,
That is what I've given.
I buy that कि
Yes.
मेरा भी, because this is my way also कि ठीक है
Yeah.
तुमको ऐसा चाहिए कर लो भाई, मुझे परेशान मत करो, that's it. But I want to ask you the scientific existence of that person. मतलब जो बंदा बोल रहा है कि he identify as a dog or a cat.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to
It
ask
is
you
there,
from
psychological.
his.
There
So
is
is there a
yes,
problem,
yes.
or is that a scientifically proven
there
thing?
is a scientific, there is a science also behind it, but it is very few. So there is a book, very famous book called A Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog.
Okay.
There is a book where it is an actual case study of a child and a boy who was raised in captivity and who was treated like a dog, who was caged, was fed like a dog and everything, and he started to believe that he is a dog.
Okay.
There are very severe. There is a thing that a woman who thought she was a hat. These are psychological problems and psychological issues of schizophrenia and stuff where the other person identifies themselves as an object or something else. Now,
Okay.
this people have misconstrued it, have displaced it, misplaced it, and मजाक के लिए करना है
वही
कुछ
कि
ये
अभी
हाँ
25 साल की उम्र तक ही वॉज अ नॉर्मल मैन बट 27 को ही डिसाइड्स कि
now
अब मैं
we don't
आइडेंटिफाई एज
no
अ
now we don't know if he is having an episode. Is he doing it for intention of a human being is very thing. We don't know if it's actually a psychological issue. So unless he does not go for testing. And for me, I have been very inclusive with respect to mental health. In the sense, like, we have people spectrum from autism and other mental health disorders. Instead of outcasting them, like, people were sent to asylums. Why don't we integrate them into inclusive schools? Integration at a particular level, not to the extreme cases where they are violent and other aspects. Why don't you include them? Can we hold space for something like that? But nahi ho pata. So there are scientific cases and stuff, and I wouldn't say that now if a person in such trauma they have come through, and it is okay for them to be what would it be? Would they be healed? Would they not be healed? Let them be and let them live the way they want to live in that perspective as well. But yes, this is scientifically, there are people where psychologically they do believe in the people believe that the world is flat and it is not a globe. So, but then yeah, we cannot have those people being air pilots because that will not,
Correct.
means practical examples
And
because
even
yeah,
the examples or the real life examples which you mentioned about
yes,
people actually believing that they are
no,
dog or
and they're
they are hat,
conditioned. Yeah,
but
it is.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly, they are conditioned since childhood or since a prolonged period of time in their
yes,
life,
yes.
and that has forcefully
It's a
brought them
trauma
into
response.
yeah,
It's a
it's a trauma
trauma
response that has
response.
brought them into a
Yes,
situation which has
yes.
made them to believe that they are
Yes,
something.
I'll tell you a very here in India, this is very prevalent, and I think there was a very famous movie also that was made with
Okay.
respect to that. So, you know how men, having a boy child is so cherished in the
Yeah,
Indian
yeah.
society. Many a times people have 2 daughters, 3 daughters, and still then finally they give up. They turn one daughter into a boy.
Yeah.
It can
Yes.
be the second child or
Yes, yes,
something. They
yes.
turn
I have
and they
heard of it.
start talking about that girl as she's a boy. The Hindi, English doesn't have the, two
Liberty
end.
or
Means that male female thing doesn't come
English
in
much.
English
Yeah.
much as much. But they will start identifying themselves. The child will start believing that they are a boy. They will act. They will have the haircut. They will have your gender roles. Okay, if they want to, but it's a responsibility of the parent. You're associating the wrong identity to the
Correct.
wrong gender. That all is okay. But when actually an adult is trying to say something else, then you're saying that is not okay. It is all about what the society is consenting. This is wrong. That child has no power also. And then you're putting that. But this is happening in society. No one is addressing this issue. They are making it, and it's not even LGBTQ or anything. That's a female child. She's a girl. She knows that. But you have been telling her, there have been cases where the child is standing and peeing. It becomes to that level. They start acting and behaving, and there are, I think there was an Irfan Khan movie in this as well. They got the girl, means everyone believed it's a boy, and they got the woman married to a woman only. So there are such severe cases that do happen, and people are not talking about those, and then they are talking about these. So let people so if someone is, I mean these things are wrong, how are you going to address all of this?
But with the movement of LGBTQ, the problem is not only the acceptance or acknowledgement of their identities or their individuality.
It
The
is their
problem has
rights.
gone
It
beyond
is
that.
about human. Why can't you just forget about the gender? And even from the many a times, some people, just because it's cool or just because it's an experiment, I want to just try this out. I want to just be. This is more cooler. People are doing that just for that sake as well, without
Right.
actually, it means because it's convenient for them, or just they just want to rebel, so they are doing this.
True.
So
Most
there
of
are
them.
so many levels to that, again, to do that. But in the end, just treat a human being as a human being. That is the rights that they want. If they want to raise a child, if they want medical treatment, what are they asking for? They're asking for medical treatment and rights. They are saying if they want to be with a partner who they want to be. And if it is with consent, give them the basic rights, what that might be there. And then later on, and all these are societal evils and means other issues which you feel are, that is education. You educate the youth.
But
With
I
respect
think
to
I
that.
think the political involvement into
It's too
this
much.
has made this beyond just giving them their rights.
It's a
They have,
distraction.
yeah,
It's
it's a
a
distraction.
distraction from
We
major
can say.
problems that matter there.
Like
कुछ
if
नहीं मिल
if
रहा
we
है.
if we simplify or linearly construct this, it could be कि ठीक है उनको उनके rights चाहिए तो उनको उनके
Yes.
rights दे दो.
Yeah.
But now it has become more than that. It has become कि ठीक है हमें rights तो चाहिए, but at the same time they need the, you can't say directly control, but they need themselves to showcase themselves to the children, to the child's community of the any society.
No, let them now. Why are you so insecure if they want to come in front? So, at Harvard also there was a friend of mine who was, she was lesbian and stuff. I wouldn't. It's they're not. They're just normal human beings.
Right.
What you
True.
do and what choices you have in intimacy, it's never discussed in public.
Correct.
You dress how you now also you go to tell you go abroad and stuff. You have people dressing in the most different form. And yeah, is it a boy or a girl? Yes, it is a difficult question. That who it is just a human being. Why can't you just accept that? And that is you are feeling insecure about your child getting exposed to that. Why are you having that insecure? You raise your child the way you want. Till 18, you have all the right to. And if you don't want them, don't go to those places. Don't expose. Walk out of the restaurant. Don't expose them. Don't miss. कितना करोगे एक दिन तो उसको दिखाई देगा ही will have to he or she will have to question it. So sort out your priorities right now, decide what values or what things you want to expose your child to. For me, I know that the kind of I've been everywhere. I know what acceptance looks like, and I am okay with giving it. And I will teach my child as and when. Right now, but yes, now is not the time because the gender identity. Now also my child says like I like shiny things. I like. What is so wrong in that? But yeah, I am also aware of what Indian society expects for gender roles. I will not put, maybe nail paint. I will, but I will remove it before he goes to school. You getting it? I will. So you have to have a balance in all of these things. Nahi, chichi, only girls. Lipstick, no, there was, because, his dad is away most of the time. Now he sees me. What he sees, he will want to do it and try it. It's a very natural and normal thing. Then it's me that, no, girls put lipstick, but why don't you put a lip balm? I get him the Nivea ka normal Vaseline balm and give him. He's taking care of his lips. Because they do get chapped. In the end, ठंडी में सबके ओठ फटते हैं.
Right.
Just because you're taking care of your lips doesn't make you less of a man or less of a woman or more of a man or more of a woman.
Correct.
वो balance की बात है. And this unnecessary people have made it into something so like a controversial topic. Bring out the balance. Raise that this thing. Gender roles are there. You decide what the kind of family background you are coming and what kind of values you want to instill in your child. So this is this is what I am doing in these unpredictable times. So,
It's like
yeah.
you have to have a very individualistic approach towards everything, not a generalized thing.
Yeah, because
That is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I have had friends who are non-binary. I
Okay.
know how to deal with them. I don't. They are just human beings, yeah, and they give me a different perspective. And we rarely speak about who they are with. We are talking about other topics.
Correct.
We are not just talking अभी नहीं तो वो हम क्या उसी बारे में नहीं बात करते हैं. We talk about so many other topics कि अरे यार न्यूज़ में क्या हो रहा है, what is happening, or which book did you read, or can you guide me to the good restaurants है क्या आपके city में. What you talk to a normal human being, वो तो last topic है कि हाँ, okay, do you like someone, or say, okay, ठीक है, fair enough. I am not comfortable going too deep into it because I will not understand it because I am straight. But ठीक है, that is okay. Let them do that. So it's just like a normal person that you're talking to and what kind of friendship you want. But nothing is threatening to it. I don't feel it. Some people do, and
There
that's
is
it's
also
unfortunate.
an angle of like the community influencing the children in the school and all.
That can happen also, but then teachers are there for it. If they are
No,
doing,
but because of the political agendas or involvement, they say that the institute, because the institutes are in the West, are
Yes.
controlled by the government.
Yes,
You are
yes.
familiar with that. So they are since involved with those communities and the
Yes,
schools and the
yes,
government.
yes.
So it's like the children and the parents are left alone, and everything surrounding the children beyond the house, the like हर जगह से वो influence हो रहे हैं towards this thing. This is what they're complaining about.
See, now that is again because you're not giving them the right kind of education, and they're
To the
rebelling.
children or to the
No, to
protesters?
both, to both,
Okay.
to both sides. There has to be. Now, protesters who are protesting, it is they are wanting validation, and influence कब से is the same as smoking and drinking. Though LGBTQ is not a sin or negative anything, but influencing तो सबके. How can you say इतना ads cigarette के ads देखे हैं? How much in movies they've shown कि smoke करो, आप बड़े cool हो. Actors and actresses are doing it, and it's considered a very cool thing, though it is killing you. For me, it's causing cancer. There is scientific evidence. यहाँ पे तो scientific evidence भी नहीं है कि क्या होगा. Then what are you scared of? Even if they're influencing, then आप अपने you don't doubt your parenting. You are insecure of your parenting because the West is a highly individualized society. They think only of themselves. They raise their children very differently. कि आप individual, आप we are least interested, you do अपना. Now they need to change their parenting styles if they feel their children are getting influenced by this. You take more active involvement in your child's life. You guide them, you take them, you teach them what it is to be done.
This sounds more fair.
No, you take more active part, so it is becoming individualized. Smoking, अगर child smoking, and at that rebel phase, all teenagers do. Smoking ho, drugs ho, drinking ho, everyone is going to rebel. And now it is about this identity also. They will all tattoos ka tha. I remember me, I have tattoos all over. I did a tattoo when it was not allowed, but I got so my grandmother had tattoos, by the way.
Oh.
Tattoo as a this thing art is a very ancient art. It is not something abhi jo ho raha.
Right.
So she told me, so she had this Ram Lakshman ka, Vitthal Rukmai.
Okay.
So that's the relevance of Krishna and Radha in this thing. So she had it, and I would always, and she had one here, bindi, like a bindi here, and on her chin 3 dots.
Okay.
And I was always in, Aji, tell me na, so Aji kaha hai, what is this, what? And she was behind me to pierce my nose. Piercing तो कभी हुआ नहीं मेरे से, but tattoos का हुआ. So I have this Vitthal Rukmai on my fingers here.
Oh, wow.
So so that also was rebel. You remember how negative tattoo was? I mean, 20-30 years back, it was considered very like having a tattoo. But it is an ancient thing that has been there. So, but yeah, we took the proper care. I understood. And then at one point I stopped. Now I don't feel like jitna karna tha ho gaya. So it's a phase. Again, it is upon you, the repercussions of it. Is it healthy? Is it not safe? So there are more important things than just debating कि किसका mind कौन influence कर रहा है. And forget about advertising. See the advertising and stuff, the amount of influencing that they have. And today's world is all about influencing. Social media is filled with it. So you need to be confident about your parenting skills in order to stop or how to guide your child. And so
Talking of parenting,
yes.
the same format that I'll state the statement, and I want you to give the context from the psychological perspective.
Okay.
I want you to take me through the whole process of becoming a parent and take me through since pregnancy, like the 9 months of pregnancy and then post pregnancy.
Okay.
तो वो वाला
Now,
पूरा
this is a very technical thing that you have told.
Okay.
Because we assume that being a parent means you have to be pregnant.
Yeah.
So in your conversation,
Right.
just now what you mentioned that means it's only a woman who gets pregnant, and then she is a parent. Now there are multiple layers to it. Here, the woman becomes, if she's pregnant, she is a parent, but also so the father also is a parent.
Right. True.
From conception. It's not that so many times we think कि जब birth हो गया तब जाके बाप बने. No, you become a father the moment you conceive as well. Another approach to this is you become a parent whenever you take the responsibility of raising a child. It need not be that you have become pregnant. Even if you adopt, even if you decide to take care, or not even adopt, or a child has come into your care and you have to take care, you are a parent then, or a teacher. So that concept is that what is a parent. So that is the first definition, that there is a youngling, and that can be, so many times pet parents भी बोलते हैं, there is a youngling, means you are responsible for another life, basically,
Okay.
and a life which cannot sustain itself. So you don't become a parent of a partner or in a relationship. Unfortunately, we do that also. वो तभी वो जाके बनती नहीं है when you try to parent your partner, because that's what mostly adults are like. Many a times adults, what I see is, there are children running in adult bodies. That's what we see these days. So
Okay.
unfortunately, so that we are trying to mother or father each other. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking care of another living thing which is not capable of sustaining itself in terms of food, clothes, or shell, everything.
Okay.
Now coming back to, okay, when that is first, is if it is in your tummy, again taking care in term, so it takes some time, no? When that, is it a wanted pregnancy, is it an unwanted pregnancy also, who is the support system, the bodily changes that happen. So all that is a part of parenting actually hits you. As long as it's a part of you, you don't feel, except that backache. For me, I had a most wonderful pregnancy in that sense. I did not have puking. I did not have, because I'm tall, tummy bhi jada, means I was fine. I did not have any aches, pains, nothing. Only psychologically there were challenges because I was going through a lot of turmoil around that time and things like that. So that happened, but physically there were no issues. Post also, I had a C-section. Again, the myths associated with that. Then again, the choices that are there, and the woman's body. One of the most challenging parts about it found is that it does not remain yours, because that other being is dependent on you for their feeding, maybe breastfeeding, maybe pregnancy, and all of that. And I think everyone is talking about your body, right from the doctors to the in-laws to your parents to us. Everyone is seeing the changes in your body, commenting on it, talking about it, and saying that you have no right over, and plus this baby is also there. So that does get a little challenging, and there are so many things that are not spoken about but you experience. That's a different I think podcast altogether. I think on parenting. But yeah, and for me, being a parent, so I have a younger brother who's 15 years younger to me. So I'd seen a part of it, though I ensure that, like, I'm the elder sister, and but yeah, he was a kid and things. But yeah, being parent means this is my own child, and I was much more older when I did. I think I was 31 or 32 when I became a mother. And parenting for me is, I knew this is my responsibility. I knew that I didn't receive the support that I expected to receive, but I made the most of it. And finding that balance between myself. The first 2 years, so it's impossible. I couldn't even, like, psychologically also. And I read again a lot of books of how the phases are and how I develop my connection with my child. Parenting is I think you shouldn't lose your individuality in it, but you do lose it in some ways. But I always wanted to be a mother, so I am very
Maternal
happy.
instinct.
The maternal instincts, and it's always, it means there are women who don't feel it, or there are men who don't feel it and stuff. For me, I knew I wanted to take care of another human being. I wanted to be there. So no matter if I studied so much and things, I wanted. That's why I still I didn't take up a full-time job or something like that. I tried to balance it out in a way that I stay true to my sense of purpose, but at the same time be there for him. And it's immense psychological growth if you do it the right way. Yeah, this immense the psychological growth in the sense that as you're parenting, what their needs are, your own needs also get triggered. So as a child, what you went through, either you try to protect. So the things I went through childhood, I didn't want him to go through that. So you try to protect that child as much as you can. And the needs also, you understand, oh, this is what this means. Oh, this is what crying. I've learned so much about myself through him. And his questions as well. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And it was a long time since I was a child, right? Almost 30 years back. So the world has changed so much. So the relevance. So, like, take an example of we were having a conversation about God. Like, what is God and who is this? And I'm a Hindu, I'm Marathi, and his dad is a Christian, and he's been baptized, so he's Catholic. So, but of course, I'm raising him in both, teaching him Hindu scriptures and stuff as well, and at the same time, a Christian. And I grew up in a convent, so I know of both, and I've studied religion quite
In depth.
Yeah. So both ways, and then of course, but not to create confusion, he is like a Christian, so I've told him in that sense. In a secular environment. So he asked me what is the concept of God. So I always tell him two ways of it. And what I remember my mother telling me is like, God is up. Right? Varti. Kuta, Varti, Kuta. Where Varti. These were the questions. I was like this
Correct.
way. I was, even as a child, I was like, why? Why this? Why that? Why? So I said, वरती कुठं म्हणजे दिसत नाही आभाळात म्हणजे the sky is there, no skyच्या beyond. Now when you learn about, so I'm very fond of astronomy as well. So it's one of my hobbies. So now I know galaxies exist, other planetary systems exist, and now I've said, okay, maybe it's on some another planet. And now this movie Kalki is also there. But I knew about this ancient alien theory a couple of
Back
years
then.
back
Okay.
only, sometimes. So that. And then, so the more I learned about science, the more my belief in God also came in. So for him, like, what happened? Like, we've had a few pets, like, we had a pet fish who died. And then the questions come up, like, what happens to them? You be honest and you tell them, I don't know. And no one in this world knows what happens to someone when they die. But yes, there is something that is bigger than us. There is someone who was there before us. There was this good person who did a lot of good. His name was Jesus Christ. And this is what happened to him. People punished him very badly. But now they remember that's why you need to be good. And with respect to Hinduism, it's a way of life. And these are the gods and Krishna. They also were wonderful. Tell them about their wonderful characters. And this is what. When you, but there is a goodness which is there. So most all religions are the same. They teach you that you need to be good and you need to be wonderful.
So the axis is goodness,
Yes,
kindness.
yes. So G for good, G for God, and but at the same time, I tell that the God is very intelligent in that sense that He's created all of this. So there's a science. Like imagine if Instagram is there or something, you take it on your palms. There are at least 20 profiles that you might see on someone. And then you think that God, we always told, no, God is watching. Yes, maybe your actions are being watched by someone beyond you. So that's enough that, being like, even if you're alone, the kind of person that you are, that is what matters the most. So, yeah, so that's about God and parenting. There are so many questions that you learn and understand. And
How would you talk through a couple who is expecting a baby,
Okay.
and they are to go through that 8-month pregnancy period.
Okay.
The couple is pregnant
Okay.
and they're expecting a baby.
Okay.
So how would you talk through them about this?
So if they come, usually it depends upon what state they are coming to me.
Okay, they are let's say they are no. I want not from a therapeutic perspective.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
not asking you from that.
Okay.
I'm asking you to comment on that phase. They are
Okay.
in the happy phase.
Okay, they
in
are
the
happy.
happy state.
Yeah,
I want you to comment on that. I want you to comment
Yeah.
on the psychological perspective
All
of that.
right. See, the reason why I asked is because the psychological state in which both the parents are matters a lot. Because even if I were to, like now, if it's an unwanted pregnancy, like, but now they are going ahead with the pregnancy even then, I will have a very different approach towards that.
But if they're happy about
Yeah,
it,
they're happy about it. They're excited. The child is coming. What I would say that you all are best of each other's partners. Don't. I will tell them about the bodily changes that would happen in the woman, the expectations that is to be had, the symptoms and signs. And best is actually I would give them a book. Which is there in parenting,
What
or
book?
ask them. There's this Benjamin Spock's book, and also there's an app called as I'm forgetting the name. So usually this is what I recommend to couples.
Benjamin
who
Spock.
are, yeah, Benjamin Spock. So it
That's
has
the name of the
everything.
author.
Yeah, Benjamin Spock, child care.
Child
So it is like a whole everything from 0 months to everything is explained. And there are some awesome books over there. So usually there is it's called Weekly. Oh, I forgot the name of the app. Uh, but it's a wonderful app and it tells
Okay.
you about the development of the child for the first 2 years of their life and very weekly, and it's very like when the child will be cranky and stuff and the mood swings. So that's what I do. But for them is what kind of a relationship they need to have with themselves. Three parts: what kind of relationship they need to have with themselves. Second is what kind of a relationship they need to have with one another in the process, because the roles are going to change, priorities are going to change. And third is, what kind of relationship do they envision having with the child?
Okay.
As a team and as one-to-one. These are the core concepts that need to be discussed and talked about when they are going to become a parent. And how are they going to manage? They become a unit, right? The first family unit. How are they going to manage the external family systems, the in-laws and the parents?
These are the things to be thought about
Yes,
before.
yes, before. When the child, before you bring your life into all these things. Because it changes. The moment you know that you are bringing another life and things, what adjust and what environmental changes are you going to make to your home and to your life? Your finances, are they in order? All of these holistic things have to be there. So, with respect to relationship within yourself, what do you feel about being a parent? So mostly they will say, मेरा तो बचपन ऐसा था, मैं तो कभी अपने माँ बाप की तरह नहीं बनूंगा. You know, whatever.
Different
So
experiences.
those. So what is the kind of a parent you envision yourself and the expectations you have? Are you going to be strict? Some say, no, I'm to going to be like a friend. But then I tell them, no, you cannot be a friend to your child because your child may have thousands of friends and hundreds of friends. A parent only एक. So don't, many times people say authoritative hona chahiye. I'm saying not authoritative, but you have to understand what the role of a mother and father is. It is not to please the child. Your child is going to dislike you. Be ready for that. Because you're going to say no to many things. And that is something the child needs to learn also in a balanced way. Not that you deny everything, but you need to know. So the role of the parent is to guide the child, to make them prepared for the world that is out there in all the possible ways. So these are some basic things that
It is also said that when your child comes into the world, he's the one or she's the one who teaches you how to be a good parent, and not any book or
And
any
there's-
other set of parents.
Yes, I think there's a beautiful poem by Khalil Gibran, I think. So he said that it's like an arrow that you have shot into the world.
Okay.
It was there with you, but now it will take a form of itself. So don't be too dependent or the expectations you have from that child, and ensure that they are not burdened with it. So it's a very fine and thin line. So the relationship you have with yourself and the child, the relationship as a couple, as a parent you want to have, and the relationship with the outside people as well. And yeah, these are the intricate things that, and of course the child, once they come, the temperaments also. Your temper, you must be very lucky, like, you know, jolly and very fun loving person, but your child might be serious and doesn't like all of that. Like for me it's like that. I am someone who is very serious all the time sometimes, like, you know, and my child just wants to have fun and things. So yeah, the temperament clash is there sometimes, but you have to bring out a balance. Again, there's a whole lot of psychology behind that, and theories and temperament styles, and it
Right.
teaches you. So yeah, learn.
There's also quite a bit talk around the corner about being in touch with your inner child.
Yes.
What is it about? Could you brief us about
Yes, so inner child, it is not कि मेरा, it is actually the version of yourself that you were at 5 years old, 6 years old.
that? Okay.
It doesn't mean you have become inner child means एक बच्चा था. No, it is not that when you were your younger self. It's a very particular topic and an age. And inner child is now when we are, so if there is a client uh, who wants to have some food, okay, if it's a couple, and now she will start saying that no, I'm not going to have my food only. You know, because just to punish him, just to punish the partner or something. I'm not going to eat my food and this thing and stuff. You will see that it is, and that person may be 35 years old and still displaying those behaviors. So actually, it is not the 35-year-old person. It is that inner child, means that child when they learned these behaviors because maybe something similar they had seen in their family. Maybe their father or their mother or grandmother would do the similar thing. So maybe when they were 10 years old, they caught on that. So you need to go and talk as like that inner child healing that we talk about. So you need to heal those parts where why are you punishing yourself because you're upset? Because that's going to make you more angrier. खाना नहीं खाओगे और angry बन जाओगे. So why are you punishing yourself in that way? So why don't you feed? So that is what inner child healing or inner parenting that we say. So the wounded part of your child. It is not that मेरा inner child means मेरा खुश self. मैं जब छोटा था carefree था. No, it doesn't mean that. It means at that one particular age when you were really hurt or when you were really bothered, what has triggered that part and that pain, and you're still carrying that pain even in your adult body. And how do you heal that, and why, and understanding that is called inner child and inner parenting.
So what are the ways to tap into those things to at least identify कि वो wounds हैं क्या?
In the sense,
Like जैसे कि अगर मेरे अंदर कोई inner child wounds
सबके
होंगे,
होता है,
सबके होता है.
सबके होते हैं,
So
सबके होते
मुझे
हैं.
कैसे how would I recognize कि मेरे अंदर की मेरे कौन से incidences थे बचपन के
Yes, so
जिनसे
the
problem है?
feelings, the negative feeling, आजकल जो चल रहा है, happy बनो, all the time be happy. The negative, the moment you feel frustration and anything that you don't want to feel, wants, anger, negative, sadness, all these are signals. Emotions are nothing. I really would recommend watching the movie Pixar's, I think it is, of Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2.
I have watched the first part. I
Yeah,
have been
second
waiting
one. They
to
so
watch the second.
beautifully explained the functions and the roles of the positive as well as the negative emotions, but they need to be balanced out. So, with respect to that, that you really need to see them as signals. When you're hurting na, जब कुछ breakup होता है and stuff, that means that there's a signal that is given to you that एक emotional wound है. It is nothing to do with, it is to do with that breakup, but there is this issues of abandonment or rejection that goes way back into your childhood. That inner child, so means kuch to hai. And when you do, when you feel safe with a particular, especially in a therapy space, or when you're in a session and that space is created, even when you just tell consciously that, tell the client to close their eyes and imagine what age did you feel that. Some clients can just tell you immediately, I was 11 years old when an incident comes. Sometimes the client is not able to recollect.
Correct.
But most of them will know, अरे ये तो हुआ था. But for that, you need time, you need space, and the possibility and the psycho education to know that these things exist. So,
And if acknowledging those wounds,
Yes.
tracing them to the past,
yes,
क्या उनको acknowledge और
Yes.
accept करने से फिर
release होता
वो
है.
release हो जाता है?
Yes, yes, I've
So,
seen that. I've
so
seen
they
it
won't
every
affect
sessions.
later
No,
in
they
your
don't.
life.
No, the awareness comes to it. So they may still. So what
So
happens
now
is,
it's like कि अब आप उन चीज़ों को लेके conscious हो.
yes, and
Okay.
that is where the healing starts. तो एक बार awareness आ गया उस पे, अभी next time awareness के बाद choice आती है. There's a split second choice that you have. Are you going to choose to do this or not? It takes practice.
Okay.
So after awareness also 3-4 instances होंगे that you go back to the pattern because these are the years of patterns you've been following. That's why people say अरे मैंने तो किया awareness भी हुआ कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. Then the next step is choice. And एक बार, and people are so unforgiving of themselves कि नहीं मैंने वापस से ऐसे किया, like simple thing of going to the gym and breaking it. ठीक है अभी नहीं किया. Give yourself that time. Understand why you're not going to the gym. It is not just because that you are lazy and stuff. It's because you are scared of the body image. Maybe when you did try to take some effort in your childhood and stuff that I want to, people laughed at you. तू कहाँ जाएगा, तू क्या करेगा, so there is a lot of mental blocks that can be there because of you going to gym. So once that, it will still continue for some time even if you come up with those memories and you release them, still the physical pattern may still remain for some time, but then it is a choice. Despite that, would you still do it? And it becomes way easier, and then it becomes habit
So
forming.
acknowledgement is like the first step.
Yes, the awareness, bringing the awareness कि ये हुआ था, and plus it's not just कि ये हुआ था. People know, but how do you release it? So those again are techniques that you help them release it. You have to really know your client to give those specific values and insights and help them how to release it, because you're still stuck in those negative, we call them cognitive distortions, or in other forms. So you really have to release them through that and then make them understand. Some clients are not willing, they're not ready at that point of time because that is still functional for them. Even if they're not going to gym, they are some negative behaviors also are functional. अगर दारू पी के मैं कुछ बोल रहा हूँ और मेरी पूरी भड़ास निकल रही है और बाद में there are no repercussions also, कुछ हो भी नहीं रहा है, I will continue that behavior because it is functional for me. Because मेरा तो मेरे को जो चाहिए वो मिल रहा है, तो फिर मैं क्यों change करूँगा behavior? So that is applicable, like even in toxic relationships that people say, Agar someone is mistreating or behaving badly, but it's not get checked, and you're still doing, oh, but so sweet, I'm so sorry, the other partner is keeping on saying sorry and stuff, they are to liking it. तो पॉजिटिव है तो वो why will they change? Only when you say कि बाबा ये तो तुम अलग ही कुछ कर रहे हो, this is not fair, and you give the negative reinforcement कि नहीं बाबा, I'm going to hold back, then that behavior will not be perpetuated.
Can there be spiritual tackle to the same problem? Is there a spiritual tackle to the same problem?
In the sense of the inner child and these aspects, it comes in the form of value systems, then they say.
Okay.
That's why you see Sadhguru, they laugh it off na. They bring you to that child form कि नहीं क्या है इतना ego, they relate it to ego.
Okay.
But ego in psychology is very different as to ego what it is understood. तो ego जब बोलते हैं तो अहंकार होता है when we are talking in terms of spirituality and stuff.
Right.
In psychology, ego does not mean that.
It's
Ego,
an identity.
It is a balanced self.
Okay.
It's a sense of balance. So there are three parts. So id, ego, and superego. So ego is the part which balances both the child part of you and the adult part of, like the parenting and socializing part of you. So that becomes an ego, and it's good to have an ego. So in psychology, like a healthy ego, what it means. But वो अहंकार हो जाता है. So then in spiritual circles they tell you कि इतना अहंकार क्यों कर रहे हो, अगर तुम्हें दुख हो रहा है तो they have their own ways. But many of the spiritual teachers have read a lot of psychology books, by the way. But they just don't say this. So how I have told you, like, these are the theories, these are the things and stuff like that. They don't tell you that. They just make up their own ways. They are excellent orators, you see.
Correct.
So they come up with their own ways of explaining their concepts by giving everyday examples, and that matches to the audience. So, but they are very well read. They know all psychology things and stuff. So yeah.
If you could define what's a healthy ego is.
A healthy ego. So there are three parts in the. If you see the theory of Freud's thing, ego with respect to id, ego, and superego. Basically, they're saying there's this child self, like which is filled with just desire. I want this. मेरे को अभी चाहिए, भूख लगी, मेरे को खाना दो, अभी दो, मेरे को कुछ नहीं. I want a chocolate. I just want a chocolate immediately. So that is the child self.
Okay.
Then is the superego. All the societal. दांत सड़ जाएंगे, ये हो जाएगा, तुम्हें पता नहीं है, you can't even control your emotion, you can't even control your needs, you don't.
Okay, fears and the insecurity.
Yes, the fears, and it's not necessarily the fears, but it's the societal pressures, societal expectations कि ये तो करना ही, ये तुम कैसे कर सकते हो, ये तो ऐसे है, ये नहीं हो सकता है, तुम नहीं है, कितने पैसे बर्बाद हो रहे, अफ्रीका में बच्चा उसको खाना नहीं मिल रहा और तुम ऐसे मांग रहे हो. All those.
That is superego.
That is superego. The social part, or even the parent, like what all your parents have taught you and stuff. So external society. So this is the basic human desires and stuff, the parent and society. And then is yourself, you. That is the ego. Now the balance is, so many a times with people who are very punitive towards themselves, like who are very hard on themselves, that superego has taken more control over it. So they keep punishing them, nahi khana hi nahi. And those who have the inner child will behave childishly. They may be 40-year-olds, but they will, नहीं मैं बात ही नहीं करूँगा, नहीं मैं तो ऐसे ही करूँगा, वो बच्चा ही, वो बच्चे पे ज़्यादा, no I'm just scared, मैं तो नहीं करूँगा, मैं.
And दोनों sides के अपने अपने advantages, disadvantages.
Yes, but it causes a lot of anxiety because वो push and pull, and neither of them is healthy. तो एक तो ज़्यादा ही play and desire, because what happens, a child never sees the other. There's not so much of empathy there. Child wants what it wants for itself.
Maturity नहीं है.
It will not take care. तुम जाओ भाट में, मेरे को जो चाहिए मुझे वो चाहिए.
True.
Basically, and the ऊपर is कि नहीं, you forget yourself, तुम्हें कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, जो society को चाहिए तुम्हें वही करना पड़ेगा. Both are very hurtful for the self. Then there is no self then. A good self would be, that's where the reparenting part comes, and the healthy ego is when, okay, you can eat only one chocolate a day, which is healthy. Please brush your teeth after it. So the child is also happy. Societal pressures also taken care of. And you are having a healthy sense of self, where your teeth are happy, you have got what you want. That is what is all parenting is also all about. The inner parenting and external. Keep balancing both what the child wants, what you want, and what societal expectations are as well.
तो बच्चे को भी इसी तरीके से आपको
You can't, people have no boundaries with children, then they become narcissistic कि नहीं जो चाहिए उसको दो, नहीं खाओ खाओ बेटा खाओ, दांत सड़ रहे खाओ तुम्हें जितना, हम तो ना कभी नहीं बोलेंगे तुम्हें कितने खिलौने चाहिए हम देते रहेंगे. The child never learns boundaries. Then जब बड़ा होता है, जब कोई ना बोलता है तो आंसू आते, can't rage, I cannot, उसने मेरे को ना कैसे बोला,
राइट
because that you have not taught the child boundaries. So all these.
So parenting includes this balancing of
Yeah.
ID and superego as well.
Yes, id and superego, and that is the basics of. And how do you do? Every child is different. Some child की एक chocolate set नहीं है, उसको और चाहिए. Then how will you manage? फिर you will have to say कि नहीं, पर फिर पहले healthy खाना खाओ, फिर एक पूरा और चलो 2 chocolate खा ले. Then alternate. So it's all about adjusting that completely. And the society that you're living in also. What are the
हाँ, वो बहुत
expectations?
matter करता है.
Because socialization is important. ऐसे नहीं कि मैं चाहिए मेरा बेटा कुछ भी करे वो ठीक है. No, societal expectations are there. After all, if connection, human connection is what matters the most. कि you need to have them have a own community, have a sense of bonding, have a sense of love and care that is received not just from parents but around. तो थोड़ा सोशेबल तो बनाना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो आजकल में मारा मारी नहीं, कौन तुम्हारा दोस्त बनेगा. बट एट द सेम टाइम नॉट बिकम अ पीपल प्लीजर.
राइट
कि हाँ नहीं ये करो, उसने मेरा इरेजर लिया पापा ले लो, सब कुछ मीन्स. So that I think is the challenge in today's world, and I mean sometimes even I struggle with certain things.
Yeah, so a last question to ask in this
Okay.
conversation, a very classy
Okay.
psychologist oriented question.
Okay.
कि जिंदगी में बुरे वक्त के साथ डील कैसे करें. So what would you tell about it?
So one of the things about dealing with tough times is to understand that it comes in phases. So
Okay.
I often tell my clients that it's like getting good at being a good surfer. So life
good
is surfing. जो
surfing,
surfing
yeah,
जो
yeah.
होता है ना surfboards पे
हाँ,
surf
हाँ,
करना,
समझ गया.
तो लहरों के साथ वो surfing, the better you get at it, the better it will be. And during the tough times, ensure it's not about that the tough times will not come. They are going to come. Making yourself so resilience. How do you build resilience? How do you, if you get punched down, how do you get back up? That is what you need to learn, and that is the confidence you carry. And when the tough times are there, you wait it out. Just like जब बारिश होती है, ठीक है, छाता ले लो अपना. Have your tools and resources ready for the tough times. Good times you everyone knows what is to be done. Party करो ये करो. But bad times में क्या करना है? Those tools many people don't know. You need to have a particular support system. So when the bad times are there, you know that you're well equipped, you're taken care of. That is the times that you're going to remember and know that you can come out of it. So having a sense of hope as well. So these are the things that.
So
you need
what
to
are the
know.
things which an individual should be equipped with for the bad times?
One of a good sense of self is something that
Okay.
that is something that you really
Like
need to
knowing
know.
the self.
Yes,
Okay.
knowing the self, because that is how you will know how to equip yourself with as well. And
correct.
each one's definition and the sense of self keeps changing also over a period of time.
True.
So
Absolutely.
now, when I was 19, so again, the different ages. Now, for him, when he does, even my son would have bad days, right? You do have. That time, he needs a good support system from me. So, having
Okay.
a good, this thing, having healthy food, good sleep. These are the basic criteria, pehle to. And having someone to talk to who is going to be encouraging to you, who is going to be supportive of you. And also, logistical understanding also, that how do you deal with it, and that hope, giving next 9, what is to be done, and the needs being met. When you're 19, 20, again, then loss. And there are so many series. Like there is loss, there is anxiety, there is fear of the unknown, fear of the future. What to do when someone else hurts you. So first of all, knowing that all these things are going to come. And there are stories, there are poems, there are expressions. How are you going to express your frustration? How are you going to process your anger? And that is where all the arts and culture comes in. Basically, art and culture is the way human beings have been dealing with the bad times.
Okay.
In the sense, and of course
Explain
the
that.
good.
Explain that.
In the sense, like dancing jab hota hai, so it was a form of prayer and things. When people
Okay.
were, बारिश नहीं आती थी, the crops were not, they would provide extravagant rituals and things to the gods to appease them.
Right.
They would dance in front of the gods to show how happy or how sad they are. The Tandav is when you were angry, what do? You dance when, so there are so many cultural aspects. Drawing and art also, community when you're feeling lonely. What about poetry? See, poetry that comes. So all these forms of expression that is there, these are some tools. And of course, therapeutic tools are जब एंजाइटी अटैक होता है तो ग्राउंडिंग टेक्निक्स क्या होते हैं, एंकरिंग टेक्निक्स क्या होते हैं, व्हाट इज गाइडेड विजुअल इमेजरी. नाउ विद द साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी ऑल थिंग्स are available and resources are available, so you need to learn these and educate yourself that these are the resources and slowly implement them into your
And
daily
know
life.
what works for you in
Exactly,
situations.
exactly, and the situations perfectly. Yes, so that is what I would say.
Now let's read one or two poems of
Okay.
your own choice from your book.
All right.
And you give them their explanations as well, because you
All
said that
right.
आपने हर poem का last में explanation भी
Yes,
करा
yes,
हुआ है.
yes.
So
Okay.
कोई भी poem किसी भी topic में से from any phase.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So there was a poem when he was young, and
Okay.
because we've done, so it was called The Little Mungusi.
The little
Mungusi.
Mungusi. Yes,
Mungus
yes,
in,
yes.
we
Right.
in Marathi we have the Mungus.
Nice.
So
Okay.
Mungus are considered lucky as well as lucky totems. Again, we were talking
Okay.
about totems, right? Animal spirits. So they are considered so little Mungusi. So I'll try and read a little a paragraph from that.
Yeah.
It's called The Little Mungusi. My feet are up after a long day. You are dreaming just right beside me. The cradle with a cloud of net. It's winter, so you have your head covered in a jacket made of day. I wonder how old you'll be. I hope these words do reach you wherever you may be. In this uncertain world, I don't know if I will be around, but one thing I know for sure, you will always be my son. That is SUN. Can't find the words to let you know how you gave me a purpose when everything crumbled down to dust. Don't want to walk past the memory lanes, but I still feel I need you to know that the world is not as it seems. You'll discover love in the most unlikely places, and you'll find horrors right under your nose. So walk as I have taught you to walk, your head held high, but your feet knowing your ground. It will be my endeavor to show you all the ways of this world, make you survive so that you find your own purpose.
Wow, beautiful.
And this was about a young mother, and that is what I had mentioned here as well.
You wrote this when you had.
Yes, yes, when he was a few months old.
Okay.
And the poem explores
Almost.
the experiences of a new mother. So
Okay.
this is what I have explained in this.
Wow. Beautiful.
And thank you. And there is one.
That's why it becomes so creation.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the name of a poem.
Yeah. Which one? The
Which
Little
he
Mungus.
said.
No, no, no. He's just saying that he's making up his own
Okay.
things and saying.
It's not a poem.
Okay.
Once my mother calls me a mangusti, then I'm intelligent.
Okay, so that's your mother's son thing. I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, something. There's this poem in Marathi.
Okay.
So I'll read
Tell
that.
me
So there are
Marathi.
I think there's only one poem I've written in Marathi and 2-3 or other ones in
Can you
Hindi.
show me
Rest
in
of them are in English. Yeah, here.
Can
here
you
it
show
is.
me in
Here,
Marathi?
here it is. Okay. जाऊन जाऊन कुठे जाऊ, कुठे लपू कुणाला सांगू, नेहमी वाट तुझ्याकडेच वळती, दुसरी ओढ अजून पण मी जाणत नाही, मनाशी बोलते स्वतःला सांगते, सगळं जे आहे नियतीप्रमाणे चालतंय, मग का भीती भरती, तुझ्याशिवाय मन लागत नाही, किनारा मी सोडू शकणार नाही, पोहता येत असतं तर कधीच तुझ्याकडची वाट पकडली असती, मनात फारदा येता की असंच वाहून जाईल, पण समुद्रात उतरले तर स्वतःला मी विसरून जाईल, मग मी कशी तुझी आठवण काढणार, तू जवळ नसला तर जगाशी कसं लढणार, समजून घ्यायला तर कोणच नसतं, समजूत काढायला पण सगळेच तयार असतात, म्हणून किनारा मला सोडता सुटत नाही, दुसरा कोणालाही हा मनाचा भाग परवडणार नाही, पाठ कधीही मी दाखवणार नाही, जाऊन कुठे जाऊ, मी आहे काठ, माझ्या विना तुला सीमा नाही, तुझ्या विना मला कविता नाही.
Wow, beautiful.
So this I'll tell you the meaning of
ये एकदम
this
ही
one.
ये शिफ्ट हो गया पुरानी वाली पोएट्री में
Yes,
पड़ी हुई,
yes.
काफी ऐसा डीप और
Thank you.
इंटीमेट हो गया, काफी अच्छी थी ये वाली.
Thank you so much. Let me find this.
Mama, try to find in Hindi and the writing in Marathi.
So the poem Cart reflects on the speaker's journey of introspection and resilience, emphasizing a deep bond with oneself and the inevitability of fate.
Okay.
It expresses a longing for connection and the courage to face life's challenges alone, asserting independence and the essence of personal truth. Okay. So that.
Amazing.
Yeah. And any other now, which one? No, I think this is
This is it?
Yeah, I think.
Alright.
Read the whole book,
Yeah, okay.
the whole thing.
We would require much more batteries and memory cards for that thing.
You mean 10,000?
No, little less than that.
There's 10,000 pages.
No, 400 and something they are
400.
pages. Yeah.
Okay, so what was your experience like in this complete conversation and
It was so nice, like talking to a friend Atharva, and
thank
the questions that you asked were so intriguing, and I think that conversation just flowed, you know.
true.
आणि खूप छान वाटलं. And even when we had connected yesterday as well, you told me so much about yourself as well. So I really liked this experience. It's something, you know, हम देखते हैं ना, when we see like हाँ ये podcast कर रहे हैं, वो हो रहे हैं and things. Even of course it was one of my wishes also, मुझे भी करना था. But I always was dumbfounded कि कैसे करना है, क्या करना है, क्या होता है. But this experience of you know, talking about I don't know, myself, but more than myself, I think the conversations that we had, I think it's a memory I will always cherish.
Wow.
And thank you so much for taking out the time, and you know, it gives so much of hope, and you know of my work as well.
Yeah.
So that gives so much of immense, and to share it now with everyone is something so wonderful. And thank you for Om also for being behind the camera as well. And yes, and to my son, he was a part
Yes,
of it.
obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, this was such a wonderful experience to have, and thank you for
Thank you.
choosing me, and I really enjoyed doing this with you, and I'm glad. This is my first podcast, by the
Okay,
way.
amazing.
So yeah, so the firsts are always cherished, and
True.
yes, and many more to come. And wishing the both of you as well all the very best second innings, as they say. And you know, thank you so much for this experience.
Thank you as well, because at the first I thought like I was in a dilemma कि मैं आपसे पूछूंगा, so
Okay.
आप agree करोगे कि नहीं करोगे, and this is
Okay.
before I texted you that
All
day.
right,
So
all
when I
right.
was just watching over Instagram, I had a thought long back in my mind that I have
Okay.
to ask you for a podcast,
Okay.
but I was quite in a dilemma कि
All
ये
right.
agree करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे.
Okay.
I don't know. So but I'm glad
Oh,
that we did this, and
yes.
the
I'm
pleasure
glad
is.
you had the courage to ask me, because yeah, that was precisely what was going in my mind as well. Ki,
And
yeah, so I'm glad
the
that you
pleasure is
asked.
all ours to have the
Yes.
conversation in this depth with this much of knowledge, because I
So
really
much.
enjoy this. I
Thank you
enjoy
so
this.
much. Thank
And thank you to your son as well for being
Yes.
so cooperative
Yes.
and being a fun. So
Yeah.
we really enjoyed it,
Thank you.
and we
Same
are
here.
glad.
Thank you so much, Atharva.
Thank you for
it
your
means a
knowledge
lot.
and this experience.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you so much.
Lego video.
Okay. And we are done, na?
Back up. खिलौने मिल गए उनको भी.